Hello, friends. Today I want to take you through a very different session on the Brand Fitness Gym. It's not a session exactly, it's a topic. A topic which I believe is very dear to all of us, and that is on creativity. So, before I start on creativity, I just would like to ask you two questions. Question number one: how many of you feel that being reasonably creative is an important skill for a pharma marketer or any marketer for that example, for that purpose? One. Second question: if you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 means the lowest score and 10 means the highest score, how would you rate yourself on the creativity scale? Anyway, since this is a video, we will not be able to, do an opinion poll. Okay. So, in case for those of you who've answered the question that yes, it is agreed, answered yes to the fact that creativity is a very important skill for a marketer, and two, for those who have self-assessed and believe there is a scope of improvement in their CQ or creative quotient, then this video is for you. So before I progress, let us understand creativity from a very, very simple concept. What is creativity? So you remember how some of you, Steve Jobs always said, connect the dots. The famous Stanford lecture. In case those of you haven't seen it, please do watch it on YouTube. The Stanford lecture where he said the dots get connected. So let me start off with creativity from there. Now imagine you have two dots on a tape on a sheet, just two dots, and we ask you to connect. For the sake of simplicity, you connect them using a straight line. So typically, what will you see? You will see that the two dots can be connected in one way as a straight line. Now, suppose I ask you, you increase the number of dots to 4. Let's see what happens. If I increase the number of dots to 4, do you see? Do you see the number of patterns that emerge? So here is your original line. How many shapes can you see? Maybe you can see an arrow over here. This forms an arrow. This forms a triangle. This whole thing forms a kite. Do you see just by increasing two dots more patterns emerge? Let us increase this by just one more dot. Let's see what happens. If I increase with one more dot, do you see the myriads of patterns that are emerging? You have the original straight line, you have the arrow, you have the triangle, you have the kite. You also now have a star which is emerging, right? So just by increasing the dots, you see the number of patterns that keep on emerging. So what are these dots when it comes to us? Dots, friends, are myriad exposures. Each dot represents our exposure. Now, what do I mean over here? Exposure in terms of different kind of stimulus. Typically, what happens as marketers, whether we talk, in terms of therapy, or a role or whatever. But first barrier is a therapy. A therapy. We get focused onto therapy, and in an attempt to build mastery there, we lose our creativity because we have very limited number of dots to work on. Number two, look at the routine which we today in our busy world which we follow. We're traveling, we're doing this, we're meeting our internal customers, external customers. Everything is revolving around the same industry, the same set of people. And our exposure to possibly different sets of people is reducing. So our exposures are reducing. Our exposures become limited. And hence we don't increase our capability to see patterns. And last but not the least is something which some of you I've interacted personally with and during workshops. I always ask you a question: how many books do you read? Which was the last book do you read, or you read? Which are the last movies you saw? And forget about books. I am seeing that people generally are watching even less movies, and if they're watching a particular genre. Now, whether it's people, whether it's books, whether it's movies, the more diverse exposures you have, the more number of dots which are available in your in your page, and that is how more number of patterns of creativity get connected. So just a very simple thing: In case you want to become more creative and you or and uh, develop this skill, my first thing would be increase the number of your exposures, your diversity of your exposures, not maybe number, the diversity of your exposures. Get more dots on the table. So, how will you increase those exposures? Read, read, read. Reading is something which you can easily fit into your routine, and it will, the more diverse you read, the more your dots will get connected. Number two, interact with more number of diverse set of people. In our routines it's very difficult to get diverse people, but maybe when you're traveling or in a flight or on a train or on a bus, talk to the person next to you. You never know. Obviously, the chances are that he or she may not be a pharma person, maybe a different industry. Talk, interact, maybe talk with the Uber driver. Start having interactions and see that whether your diversity of experiences increase. Number three, reduce your screen time. See, typically what happens is, now this will sound like a paradox. Say when you're commuting, or maybe you're taking in your field work, you're going for you're taking a taxi or sitting behind the two-wheeler of the sales colleague who's driving. Uh, don't waste your time on looking at screens and responding to WhatsApps. Look around. Even your visual thing, what you're observing, these are very, very observing, not to make a judgment, just observing. These are huge huge exposures which act, and all of them actually go to increase the number of dots. And you don't have to struggle to see a pattern. The pattern will emerge. The more diversity comes from reading, talking to people, observing, you will see that patterns of creativity will come in. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So maybe you can maybe start off reading a book. Maybe you can start watching a movie. Maybe the next flight you take, you talk to the person next to you. And who knows, let the dots come, and I'm sure you will find a way to connect them. Happy creative transformation, and thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.